The stars outside the space station were calm, but inside, tension filled the air. For years, Earth and the Thaleri Empire had stood on the edge of war. Small fights had broken out in border zones, and trust had broken on both sides. But finally, after long talks, both sides agreed to a peace treaty sealed by marriage. Liam, a human diplomat known for his quiet strength, was chosen to represent Earth. He had soft eyes, a gentle voice, and a deep understanding of alien cultures. He wasn't a soldier, he wasn't a hero, but he knew how to listen, and sometimes that was more powerful than a weapon. His bride, Princess Valana of Thaleri, was very different. She walked into the grand hall with her head high, wearing a long, silver robe that shimmered with her people's ancient symbols. Her skin was light blue, and her dark hair was tied with threads of gold. Her eyes were sharp, watching every move. She was young, proud, and held the weight of a 1,000-year-old empire on her shoulders. They stood beside each other, facing the great leaders of Earth and Thaleri. The wedding was simple but serious. No music, no dancing, just words of peace. A mechanical voice from the station read the marriage vow. By this union, two worlds become one in promise. War ends, peace begins. Valana didn't look at Liam. She kept her eyes forward. Liam, in return, only gave her a small nod, showing quiet respect. When the ceremony ended, the guests clapped politely, but there was no real joy. Everyone knew this wasn't a love story. It was a deal. Later, Liam was taken to the royal ship, a large and glowing vessel named the Star of Thalara. He was shown to a room that was clean, beautiful, but very empty. Where will the princess stay? Liam asked kindly. An older Thaleri attendant bowed. She has her own chamber, sir. That night, Liam waited. He thought maybe Valana would come to speak, or at least offer a greeting. Hours passed. The door never opened. The next morning, he met her in the hall. She wore her royal robe again, standing tall beside her guards. Her voice was clear, without emotion. "We are married in name, not in spirit," she said. "You must understand. This bond was made to stop a war, not to begin a union." Lim didn't argue. He only nodded. "I respect your choice," he said simply. She turned away, walking down the long corridor without another word. Days passed. Liam tried to learn more about the Thaleri culture. He joined their meals, studied their art, and read about their history. He didn't push for attention. He didn't try to win her heart. He simply stayed calm and kind, doing what he could to show respect. But Valana stayed distant. In the royal hall, she gave speeches about peace. She stood beside Liam at events. But when the lights dimmed, she disappeared behind her locked door. Some Thaleri nobles laughed quietly behind Liam's back. They called him the silent groom in their language. Others watched him with cold eyes, waiting for him to make a mistake. But Liam never reacted. He continued his work, meeting with advisors, helping Earth and Thaleri ships communicate, and sending peaceful messages to worried leaders back home. One evening, Liam sat alone in the ship's garden room. It was full of soft glowing plants. From Valana's world, he looked up at the glass ceiling where the stars passed slowly. He thought about the wedding, about Earth, about Valana. He didn't feel angry, only curious. "Why does she keep such distance?" he whispered. But there was no answer. The next day, during a private event, Valana and Liam had to walk together through a line of foreign guests. People from over 20 species were present, all watching the couple closely. As they moved through the hall, a small child from a desert planet walked up to them, holding a flower. "For the bride," she said in a quiet voice. Valana took the flower, then looked at Liam. To the surprise of everyone, she spoke directly to him in front of the crowd. "You have not asked for anything." "Not even once," Liam smiled gently. "I came for peace, not demands." The moment passed quickly. But later that night, Valana stood at her window, holding the little flower in her hand. Her face, always so still, now showed the smallest trace of thought, perhaps even doubt. In the coming days, Liam began leaving small gifts outside Valana's door. A poem from Earth, translated into Thaleri's script, a drawing he made of the space garden, A music chip with soft human melodies. He didn't sign them. He didn't ask questions. Just gentle messages that said, I see you. I respect you. I am still here. Velana never responded. But one day, the guard outside her door told Liam quietly, the princess has kept all your notes. That night, Liam sat at his desk and wrote one more line. Placing it in a folded leaf, peace is the reason, but understanding that is the hope. The days moved slowly aboard the Star of Thalara. The ship floated through neutral space, a silent symbol of peace between two worlds. But inside the ship, the coldness between Liam and Velana remained. They were married, yes, but only in name. Liam continued living in the chamber assigned to him. He woke early, dressed neatly, and followed the royal schedule with discipline. He joined meals, attended briefings, and smiled politely at everyone. The Thaleri nobles still called him the quiet one behind his back, but Liam did not mind. He had not come to impress them. He had come to keep peace alive. Velana, meanwhile, stayed surrounded by her royal guards, ministers, and court advisors. She gave powerful speeches, always using the right words. Her voice was calm, her posture perfect. She honored her role. But not once did she speak to Liam in private again. The alliance, as seen by the galaxy, was working. The news on Earth showed photos of the royal couple standing side by side, sharing formal greetings. No one saw the cold silence behind those smiles. One evening, a quiet message came to the ship. Aboard a colony shared by Earth and Thaleri, settlers had been attacked by pirates. The news was troubling. The colony was a symbol of the peace treaty. It was built together by both species, meant to show cooperation and unity. Now, smoke rose above its buildings, and several cargo units were missing. Velana called an emergency meeting with her top officers. Liam asked to attend as well. Inside the war room, blue lights glowed on the digital table. The screen showed the damaged colony, flickering with warnings. The Thaleri general, a tall figure named Maros, suggested sending a small team of Thaleri guards only. This is our matter, Maros said firmly. We will protect our people. Liam raised a hand gently. If Earth helps too, it will show we stand together. One team, one alliance. Maros looked at him with narrowed eyes. You think peace is built on soft words, human? Before Liam could reply, Velana spoke. Let him go, she said. The room went quiet. Let him join the mission. She continued. We said this marriage is for peace. Let us prove it. Maros was clearly unhappy, but he bowed. As you wish, princess. A small team flew down to the damaged colony. Liam rode beside the guards in silence, wearing a light armor suit. He had no weapon. He was not there to fight. He walked with the Thaleri team through broken streets and dusty air. The pirates had already escaped, but tension still hung in the air. The settlers, both human and Thaleri, looked afraid. Then something unexpected happened. A frightened child ran from a broken building straight toward a Thaleri guard. The guard raised his weapon by instinct. Liam rushed forward, stepping in front of the child. Wait, he said. It's just a child. The guard froze. Liam knelt down and gently helped the child stand. The small boy clung to him, eyes wide with fear. The settlers watched in silence. One Thaleri elder stepped forward. You are the treaty groom, Liam nodded. I'm here for both our people. The elder looked at the child, then at Liam, then maybe, he said softly. Peace is not just a word. When the team returned to the ship, news of Liam's actions had already reached Velana. She was waiting for the report. As Liam entered the hall, she looked at him directly for the first time in days. You risked your safety, she said. For a stranger, for a child. Liam nodded. It felt like the right thing to do. She paused. Some in my court say you are soft. I don't mind being soft, Liam answered. As long as it brings hope. Velana didn't smile, but her voice softened just a little. Thank you for standing beside my people. That night, Liam returned to his room. On the table, he found something new. A folded piece of silver cloth, a symbol of honor in Thaleri tradition. There was no note, but the message was clear. Velana, had left it. In the following days, something began to shift. Liam noticed small changes. During meetings, Velana no longer avoided his gaze. During meals, she allowed him to sit closer. Once, she even asked his opinion on a cultural matter. Liam answered with care, not trying to impress, just sharing what he knew. He also kept sending small notes, short poems, thoughtful quotes, tiny drawings of the stars. He placed them outside her chamber, never expecting a reply. One day, a reply came. It was a single line, written in Thaleri calligraphy. Peace may be born from duty, but it grows from kindness. Liam read the line 3 times. He didn't smile, but he felt a warmth in his chest he hadn't felt in weeks. Even the ship's crew noticed the change. Guards no longer looked at Liam with suspicion. Servants began bowing with more respect. One officer even asked him to teach a small earth melody to the ship's music team. Velana remained distant in public, but something in her posture had softened. She no longer acted like Liam was a stranger. Not quite a husband, but no longer an outsider. And slowly, the rumors back on Earth changed too. News channels now called the marriage a slow success. People began sending messages of hope. One child from Earth had even drawn a picture of the royal couple standing under one sun, holding flags of both worlds. The drawing was posted across many space stations. Velana saw the picture during a meeting. She didn't speak about it, but she kept the copy on her datapad for days. In his private journal, Liam wrote, "We are not close, but we are no longer far. Maybe peace begins like this." The days were growing calmer aboard the Star of Thalara. The early coldness between Liam and Velana had begun to fade. They were still distant in public, but now, at least, they spoke in private, a few quiet moments, but few thoughtful words. Nothing more, but it was a beginning. Liam continued his small habit of leaving kind notes and simple earth items for Velana. A tiny wooden carving, a quote from an old earth poet, a recipe for a tea humans drank to calm the mind. Sometimes, she replied with small gestures of Thaleri's symbol of thanks drawn on paper, or a leaf from a sacred tree used in her people's ceremonies. No messages, no promises, but still, something was changing. One night, while standing near the ship's observation deck, Liam overheard the crew members speaking. "He's not like we expected," one Thaleri said. "He does not push or pretend. He listens." Still, the other replied, "He is not one of us, and the princess will never be his." Liam didn't say anything. He just kept looking out at the stars. Soon after, a new problem arrived. A distress signal came from a Thaleri cargo vessel traveling near Earth's zone. It had vanished from communication lines. No message, no sign of attack. Velana called a special meeting in the command room. The lights were dim, and everyone's faces looked serious. General Meros, the royal military advisor, stood at the front. The ship was last seen near Zone 7C. He said, "Close to Earth territory. Some believe human ships interfered." Liam frowned. "That's not possible. Earth patrols are peaceful and follow strict rules." Meros looked at him with narrowed eyes. "Are you sure? Even peaceful men have limits. Even peaceful countries make mistakes." Velana stayed silent, her hands folded in front of her. Liam didn't argue. He knew it wouldn't help. Instead, he said, "Allow me to check from Earth's side. I can speak to our officers. If the ship is near us, I will help find it." Velana looked at him closely. "You would go alone?" "Yes," Liam said. "They trust me. I can move faster without causing alarm." After a short pause, Velana nodded. "Then go," and returned safely. Liam left the royal ship in a small transport. He traveled to a nearby Earth satellite station, where he spoke with human officers. After checking the records and space scans, they found something. The missing Thaleri cargo ship had not been attacked. It had entered an old asteroid field by mistake and became trapped in the pull of a dying magnetic moon. It was not destroyed, but it couldn't move. Liam and a team of Earth engineers flew quickly to the ship. Using careful planning, they pulled it free and guided it to safety. When Liam returned to the Star of Thalara with the rescued ship behind him, Velana was waiting at the landing dock for the first time. She stepped forward without her guards and said, "You saved them." "They were your people," Liam replied. "So they were mine, too." She looked into his eyes. For once, there was no wall between them, only silence, heavy with meaning. Later that night, something unusual happened. Valana invited Liam to her study. He entered the chamber carefully. It was quiet, filled with soft lights and long shelves of books and data crystals. She was sitting by the window, looking out at the stars. When he entered, she didn't rise, but gestured for him to sit. "I read the poem you left last week," she said softly. "The one about rivers and mountains." "I'm glad," Liam said. "It reminded me of my home," she continued. "Before I became what I am now." There was a long pause. "Do you regret it?" she asked. "This marriage?" Liam took a deep breath. "No, I regret the reasons behind it, but not the choice." Valana turned to look at him. "You are careful with your words. I don't wish to hurt you." Her voice dropped. "And what if I've already hurt you?" Liam paused. "Then I forgive you." She looked down, her expression unreadable. "My people think bonding should come with control, power, duty, but I wonder if they are wrong." Liam didn't answer. He just sat beside her in silence, and that silence spoke more than any speech ever could. The next day, a grand event was held in the capital city of Thalara Prime. The royal couple Valana and Liam were asked to attend. It was the first time they would stand together on Thalari soil since the wedding. Valana wore a simple robe, unlike her usual royal gowns. Liam wore a formal earth suit with a sash bearing both flags. They walked side by side through the silver streets, watched by thousands. The people didn't cheer loudly. The Thalari were not known for noisy joy, but they bowed, and they didn't turn away. At the end of the ceremony, a child stepped forward again, this time a Thalari girl with bright eyes. She handed Liam a small flower. "For you," she said, "for being kind." Valana looked at him, and this time she smiled. Not for the cameras, not for the crowd, but for him. Back on the ship, Liam sat once more in the garden room. The lights were low, and soft music played from a Thalari string instrument. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring. The alliance was still new. The culture is still different. But something real had begun. A connection, not built on orders or promises, but on time, and choice, and quiet care. The sun of Thalara Prime hung low in the sky, casting a golden glow over the royal gardens of the Star of Thalara. Soft blue leaves shimmered in the wind, and the air was calm. Yet something unspoken drifted between Liam and Valana since the event in the capital. Many things had changed quietly, slowly. The Thalari people, once cold toward Liam, had grown more accepting. Some now greeted him by name. Others asked him about Earth's customs and music. The tension between the two cultures had not disappeared, but it no longer felt like a wall still. One thing had not changed. Valana remained guarded. She spoke to Liam in formal tones. She allowed him beside her at events and even shared polite conversation during meals. But after the lights dimmed and duties were done, she went back to her private world. Liam understood. Or, at least, he tried to. He had never expected love, not in a marriage made for peace. But deep inside, he couldn't help but wonder if there was more than politics between them now. One evening, that wonder turned into something unexpected. Liam was reading in the quiet of his chamber when a soft chime echoed from the door. He opened it, surprised to see Valana standing there. She wore no crown, no royal robe, just a simple cloak, the color of starlight. "May I come in?" she asked. He stepped aside without speaking. Valana entered, her hands behind her back. She looked around the room, noticing the small details, books, earth maps, and a simple wooden box with music crystals. Liam didn't speak right away. He waited. Finally, she turned to him. "There's something I need to say, and I don't know how to say it." "You can say anything," Liam said softly. She sat down in the chair near the window. The stars outside looked like frozen sparks. "In the dark, when I was a child," she began, "I was taught that duty is more important than emotion. Feelings were called distractions. Weakness, even love, was something to be managed, not embraced. Liam listened quietly. When I was told I would marry a human, she continued, I was angry. Not because I hated Earth, but because I thought it would make me small in the eyes of my people. Liam nodded gently. I understand. But you never pushed, never demanded. You were not what I feared. She looked at him now, eyes clearer than before. You have given me respect, even when I gave you silence. Liam smiled softly. Respect is not a gift, it's the beginning. Velana looked down. I feared that bonding with you would make me look weak. But now I see that weakness is not in the bond, it is in the fear. There was a long pause. Then Velana stood and walked toward the small table. She took something from her pocket and placed it there. It was a folded piece of royal fabric, stitched with the symbols her family crest and the human emblem for peace. I made this, she said, when I first agreed to the marriage. I never gave it to you. Liam picked it up carefully. It's beautiful. It's honest, Velana replied. They stood in silence again. But this time, it wasn't uncomfortable. It was calm. Velana turned to leave, but paused at the door. I'm not ready, she said. Not for everything a bond means, but I'm ready to begin knowing you, not as a symbol, as a person. I would like that, Liam said. She nodded once, then left. The door closed behind her with a soft sound, and Liam sat back, holding the folded cloth, feeling as if something important had finally opened, not with words, but with truth. The next day, Liam woke to a message. It was short and formal, an invitation from Velana. Come to the Central Observatory at first light. Bring nothing but time. Liam smiled. He dressed simply and followed the route through the long halls of the ship. The guards bowed slightly as he passed. No one stopped him. When he reached the observatory, he found Velana already waiting. She had prepared a space with 2 cushions, a small table, and a tray of tea Theleri style. I thought we could speak, she said. Without titles, without robes. Liam nodded and joined her. They sat side by side, as the great windows showed the rising light of a nearby star. The tea was bitter but calming. Velana poured it carefully, not speaking at first. Then she asked, Why did you say yes to this marriage? Liam thought for a moment. Because I wanted peace. And because I believe that understanding begins when someone steps forward without fear. Velana's voice was softer now. Were you ever afraid? Yes, Liam said. But not of you. I was afraid I'd never be seen for who I really am. And who are you? She asked. He looked at her, eyes steady. Someone who believes in kindness, and patience, and hope. Velana smiled, not the formal smile of a princess, but a quiet one, warm and real. I think I'm beginning to believe in those things too, she said. For the rest of the morning, they spoke not as husband and wife, not as leaders of 2 planets, but as people. They talked about childhood memories, favorite colors, music, and stories. Velana laughed once when Liam told her about Earth's floating fruit markets. Liam listened with interest as she described the giant crystal gardens of Thalera's southern mountains. No promises were made, no emotions declared, but something deeper was born in that room, a first real conversation. That evening, news came from Earth. A group of human scientists had developed a new energy system based on a Thaleri design. The project was working, shared. Research had begun. Velana called a meeting and invited Liam to stand beside her as she made the announcement. For the first time, she said, Our minds are working together. Let this be the start of something more than peace. Let it be the start of trust. As she spoke, she reached for Liam's hand, not publicly, not in front of the galaxy, but beneath the table, where only he could feel it, and Liam, without a word, gently held her hand in return. The bond between Liam and Velana had begun to grow, not fast like fire, but slow like the rising sun. They now shared quiet talks, warm tea, and gentle smiles. But beyond their private moments, the galaxy still watched them closely. Some believed the peace was real. Others still whispered behind closed doors. In the halls of the Thaleri court, not everyone was happy. One of those voices was Advisor Kirill, an elder from one of the ancient Thaleri houses. He had long supported the idea of war with Earth, too, The treaty marriage was a sign of weakness. This human has softened the princess, Kirill said during a closed meeting, and if she bonds with him completely, our traditions may fall. Others in the room nodded. They had not spoken against Velana openly, but their silence was growing louder. Back aboard the Star of Thalara, Liam received an official message. It was from Earth's High Council. They praised his role in the recent energy project and invited him to speak. During an interplanetary broadcast, Liam read the message carefully. He didn't care about fame, but he knew the speech could help. Continue peace. When he told Velana, she nodded. Speak from your heart, she said. That is your strength. Liam prepared the speech with care. He wrote about shared futures, about learning from each other, and about how peace is built not in one day, but in many small steps. Velana even helped him translate some lines into Thaleri language, so more people could understand. The day of the broadcast arrived across human colonies and Thaleri cities. People gathered to watch. Liam stood in front of a simple backdrop, no crown or symbols, just a quiet voice and a message of unity. He ended with these words, "We married for peace, but now we walk toward understanding. That is a journey worth taking for both our worlds." The reaction was strong. Many citizens from Earth and Thalara praised the message. Peace groups shared the speech widely. Even young students sent messages of hope and support. But not everyone was pleased. Late that night, an urgent knock came at Liam's chamber. It was General Marrows. "There has been an incident," he said, his face hard. "What happened?" Liam asked, rising quickly. "A message was leaked," Marrows explained. "A false report claiming you are planning to use your marriage to take control of Thaleri political systems." Liam was shocked. "That's not true. I've never." "No," Marrows said. "But many do not." Velana called an emergency meeting with the Royal Council. Liam was allowed to attend but told not to speak until asked. Inside the chamber, Advisor Kirill stood tall, holding a data crystal. "This message was found in the Earth communication logs," he said. "It speaks of Earth influence, slow control, and soft invasion." Velana read the message with sharp eyes. Then she looked up. "This is not Liam's writing," she said. "I know his words." Kirill raised a brow. "Do you trust him more than your own counsel?" Velana answered calmly. "I trust truth." A tense silence followed. Then she turned to Liam. "Did you send such a message?" Liam stood slowly. "No, I would never hurt this alliance, never use it for power." Velana looked at him for a long moment. Then she turned to the guards. "Search the data logs, trace the message. I want the real sender found." Kirill's eyes narrowed, but he said nothing. 3 days passed. The search was quiet but thorough. In that time, Liam stayed mostly in his room. He didn't want to cause more trouble. Velana came to see him once each night. She brought tea. They sat in silence, sometimes speaking, sometimes just listening to the stars outside. On the third night, she said, "You should know. If the message is not proven false, Earth might be asked to remove you." Liam nodded. "I understand. But I won't let it happen," she added firmly. "You are not just a name in a treaty anymore." Liam looked at her. "And what am I now?" She paused, choosing her words carefully. "You are someone I trust." It was not a confession, not a promise, but it meant everything. Finally, the truth came out. The message had been fake, planted by a young noble loyal to Kirill. The goal was to create doubt in Velana's leadership and break the bond with Earth. Velana acted swiftly. The noble was removed from court, and Kirill was given a quiet warning, not punishment, but a message. His influence was fading. The false message was shared with both governments, proving Liam's innocence. Velana made a short speech afterward. "Let this be the lesson. Peace is not a silent road. It is a path tested by doubt, but truth will always stand." After that, something changed again between Velana and Liam. It was a small thing, her hand reaching out during a walk, or her voice saying his name with a softness it never had before. One night, she invited him to a private Thaleri festival normally celebrated only among family. Liam was surprised. "Will your people accept me there?" She smiled. "They will, because I do." During the festival, they lit sky lanterns made of thin crystal. Each one carried a silent wish into the night. Liam looked at Velana. "What did you wish for?" She didn't answer at first. Then she said that this becomes more than just peace. Later that night, as they stood watching the lanterns disappear among the stars, Velana turned to Liam. "I was wrong," she said, "about what I thought peace was something we had to protect with walls. But now I see peace needs open doors." Liam didn't speak. He simply reached for her hand, and this time she didn't pull away. Peace had returned for now. Liam and Velana were no longer strangers standing side by side. They still lived in separate chambers, and their worlds remained different, but something real had formed between them: trust, respect, quiet understanding. To the galaxy, there were still symbols of the treaty, but inside the star of Thalara, they were slowly becoming something more. However, not all threats came from outside. Some hid in the shadows. Late one evening, Velana met with her most trusted guard, Captain Arian, in the inner garden. The glowing trees swayed gently, but Velana's expression was tense. "Do you feel it?" she asked. Arian nodded. "Yes, Princess. There are whispers again. Not from Earth, from within, from the court, perhaps," Arian replied, "but also from those who hide behind false loyalty. Someone does not want this alliance to last." Velana looked down. "They have already tried once with a false message. What will they try next?" Arian stepped closer. "That's why I've placed watchers around the ship, quiet ones. If they move, we will know." Velana gave a slow nod. "Good. We've come too far to fall back now." Meanwhile, Liam was working late in the diplomacy wing of the ship. He was preparing a new education exchange program between Earth and Thalara. The idea was simple. Students from both worlds would learn in each other's schools. He believed young minds were the best path to long-term peace. As he reviewed the program details, a quiet knock came at the door. It was Velana. "You're working late," she said. "I could say the same for you." Liam smiled. She walked in and sat beside him, looking at the data screen. "This program," she said, "will not only teach lessons. It will teach hearts." Liam looked at her. "That's the goal." Velana leaned back in the chair. "I've been thinking about what—" She took a deep breath. "If something were to happen to me," Liam sat up. "Don't say that. I must." She said calmly, "If something happens, I want you to protect the treaty, even if it means standing alone." Liam shook his head. "We won't be alone. Not anymore." Velana gave a small, grateful smile. "Then let's hope you're right." That night, the ship's power flickered just for a moment. Most ignored it. Space travel often caused small technical glitches. But in the control room, Captain Arian's team noticed something strange. A security door had been unlocked for just 8 seconds, then locked again. And it wasn't on any schedule. The next morning, a storage unit was discovered open. A harmless item was missing, a decorative statue gifted to Velana during her visit to Earth's capital. It was made of crystal and metal. Nothing dangerous, but inside, it had carried a tracking chip for diplomatic display. Now, both the statue and the chip were gone. Arian quickly alerted Velana. She called Liam to her chamber. "Someone is planning something," she told him, "and I believe it will happen soon." Liam frowned. "Should we cancel the meeting tomorrow?" The two leaders were scheduled to speak together at a space conference with several allied planets. "No," Velana said firmly. "If we hide, they win." The day of the conference arrived. The royal ship docked beside the grand station where the event would take place. Flags from many worlds waved in the open halls. Velana wore her silver robe, the same one from their wedding day. Liam wore his Earth sash with the Unity emblem pinned to his chest. They walked together into the hall, heads held high. Thousands watched as they took the stage. Liam gave his speech first, speaking about shared dreams, young voices, and how understanding could defeat fear. Then Velana stepped forward. She spoke not like a ruler, but like a soul with something real to say. "We did not begin with love," she said. "We began with silence, and silence is cold. But peace began to grow when we chose to listen. The crowd clapped gently. A mix of Philarii nods and Earth cheers. Suddenly, a sharp sound rang out. A smoke device hit the floor, sending a loud pop and white mist across the front row. Guards rushed in. People screamed. Valana stood still, calm. Liam stepped forward to shield her, his arm gently reaching out, though he had no weapon, from the mist. A figure moved, rushing toward the stage. But before the attacker could reach them, Captain Arian tackled the person to the ground. The smoke cleared. It was a Philarii in servant clothes. In his hand was a signal jammer meant to block all messages from the station. Not a weapon, but a symbol of sabotage. Had he succeeded, the treaty meeting could have been thrown into chaos. Later, in a secure room, Valana and Liam watched the attacker on a screen. He said only one thing during questioning: a princess should not bend to peace. She should rise in war. Valana turned off the screen. We must show them, she said softly, that peace is not weakness. Liam nodded. Then let's show them together. That evening, Valana made a surprising choice. She called a public broadcast from the Star of Philar. No guards, no walls. Just her and Liam standing before the galaxy. She began. Today, someone tried to silence unity, but they failed. She paused, then reached for Liam's hand in front of the cameras. Because unity has a voice now, and I will not let it be quiet. Across space, people watched. Some smiled, some were silent, but none could say the marriage was just for show anymore. That night, Valana and Liam sat in the observatory once more. No one else was there. No guards, no duty. Just two people watching stars. I don't know where this path leads, Valana whispered. Neither do I, Liam said. She looked at him. But I'm no longer afraid of walking it with you. He didn't reply with words. He simply placed his hand gently over hers, and this time she held it tightly. Time passed slowly aboard the Star of Philara, but things had changed more than anyone expected. What began as a cold marriage between two strangers, created only to stop a war, had now become something deeper. No, not yet love, not fully, but something strong and real. Trust, respect, and quiet care. The galaxy no longer doubted the treaty's power. Earth and Philara had begun working together on joint missions, science projects, even school exchanges. Trade routes were opening again. Even songs from both cultures were being shared in public markets and distant colonies. But more importantly, people were learning to see each other not as enemies, but as neighbors. And behind it all stood Liam and Valana. One morning, the couple stood together before a new fleet of ships. These weren't warships. They were peace vessels designed for transport, education, and healing. One ship was named the Unity Flame. Another was called New Dawn. At the ceremony, Valana turned to Liam and whispered, "When I was a child, I believed peace was only a pause between wars. Now, I believe it's something we must build, piece by piece." Liam smiled gently. "Then let's keep building." She nodded, and for the first time in front of thousands, she didn't just take his hand. She walked forward holding it. That night, the ship's garden room was quiet. The stars shone through the glass ceiling. Blue and silver plants glowed softly, moving with the recycled air. Liam sat beside Valana, their shoulders nearly touching. Neither spoke for a long time. Finally, Valana broke the silence. "Do you remember our first night?" Liam nodded. "You didn't say a word." "I didn't know how to. I was angry, scared. I thought I was being given away." "You weren't," Liam said softly. "You were choosing peace." "I didn't choose you," she replied. Liam looked at her. "But you stayed." Valana turned to face him. Her voice was low but steady. "And now, I choose something more." Liam's breath slowed. He waited. "I choose bus," she said. No one on the ship knew what happened that night between them. No announcement was made. No ceremony held. But those close to the couple noticed a quiet difference. In the days that followed, Valana began calling Liam by his name, not his title. They were often seen walking together without guards. Liam began wearing Philarii colors during meetings, and Valana sometimes joined him for Earth traditions, like tea at sunrise. One day, during a shared training session, a young Philarii officer asked Liam, Are you truly bonded now? Liam only smiled. We're not bonded by force. We're bonded by choice. And that made all the difference. Far away, not everyone accepted the changes. Small resistance groups still existed, some from Earth, others from Theleri, people who believed the two species should stay apart. But their voices were growing weaker. Because peace was no longer just a paper treaty, it was a living thing. One that people had begun to believe in. Weeks later, Valana invited Liam to her homeland. For the first time, to the mountain city where she was born. They arrived in a silver shuttle, welcomed by the soft glow of the southern lights. The city was built between tall cliffs and crystal lakes. Its towers reflected the sky, and its people watched quietly from their balconies. Valana led Liam through the city's oldest halls. She showed him the royal library, the tree that bloomed only once every 10 years, and the rock path where her mother used to walk at the edge of a cliff. She paused. This is where I learned to lead, she said. I stood here the day I was named heir. Liam stood beside her. What did you feel? Fear, pressure, loneliness, and now, she turned toward him, hope. On the last day of their visit, a small private ceremony was held, not for the public, not for the treaty, but for them. There were no cameras, no speeches, just a quiet ritual, spoken in both Theleri and English. Valana wore a simple white robe. Liam wore a deep blue sash. They each placed a hand on a glowing crystal, an ancient Theleri tradition, and said their vows, not to nations, but to each other. I choose you, Valana said, her voice steady. I choose us, Liam replied. And with that, the bond became real. Not force. Not for peace, but for love. Back aboard the Star of Thalara, life went on. There were still duties to fulfill, meetings to attend, and decisions to make. But now, Liam and Valana faced them as true partners together. The ship's crew no longer saw them as strangers. Guards greeted them with warm nods. Advisors listened to their shared words. Even young cadets began writing essays on how peace had begun with a marriage, but grew through patience. One evening, Liam stood on the deck alone, watching a nearby planet rise in the window. Valana walked in and stood beside him. You're quiet tonight, she said. Just thinking. About what? Liam looked at her and smiled. About how strange it is that the war we feared was stopped by something as small as two people choosing not to give up. Valana nodded. Strange, but true. They stood there in silence. Then Valana whispered, You asked me once why I wouldn't share the wedding night. Liam looked at her gently. Yes, he said. But I never asked again. You didn't need to, she replied. Because you waited. Because you respected me. She took his hand and placed it on her heart. And because of that, I wanted to come to you in my own time. Liam nodded. And I'm glad you did. They looked out at the stars once more, not as Earth and Theleri, not as symbols, but simply as two souls who had walked through silence, misunderstanding, fear, and found something more. Not just peace, but something worth keeping forever. The end.